He paid for her at a grocery store, and it changed his life. A note on the receipt made everything clear. When he cleared the table and opened a folder, the man noticed a note that began, "My mother did not need you to help her." Kasey had already been having a bad day, and now he was facing something even more odd. But when he continued reading, everything became pretty clear. Kasey Simmons was a waiter from Dallas, Texas. He could definitely say that day was one of the worst days of his career. The man was working the dinner shift at the local Applebee's, and at that moment the place was full of customers, waiting for a server to come by. The worst thing was that Kasey was the only server who had stemmed the tide of customers, and it appeared to be a losing battle. Then she entered the main doors. The woman was with her family. They sat down and started waiting for Kasey to take their order. When he finally managed to come to the family completely tired, he introduced himself and said, "I'm just letting you know that I'm so far behind and I'm in the weeds right now." He also mentioned he'll serve them only in 45 minutes, which obviously made the woman confused and annoyed. Kasey tried to calm her down and proposed to order the table's drinks. Well, it was definitely the worst day ever. The customers didn't stop entering Applebee's, and the man felt it was his final straw. Then, to make things even worse, people started complaining. They were annoyed with the speed of serving. Kasey was the only waiter after all. He looked around at all those tables and started to consider the unthinkable. A crazy thought popped into his mind. What if he just walked out right now? Even though this option was so tempting, Kasey couldn't. He was a devoted worker who couldn't just leave everything and run away. Moreover, he needed the money. When he asked the manager if they could send a second waiter to help him out, his request was turned down as they were understaffed that night. So the only way to overcome this day would be to clench his fists, breathe out, and try to do the impossible. No time for pity. The man's mood mainly depended on the number of tips customers were leaving. Some of them were lavish and left generous tips, which Kasey sincerely appreciated, while the others weren't that open-handed and left small tips or worse, none at all. It deeply hurt the server as he tried to provide the best service possible. You see, it was the real life of a worker in the service industry. When Kasey finally came to take the woman's order, he was more than upset when she answered they wouldn't be ordering any food. Instead, the woman asked to bring a bottle of flavored water before they went on their way. Kasey felt awful. The family had waited for an hour to get some water in the bill, which came to just 74 cents, but it wasn't over. The woman asked the man to split the amount into 2 credit cards as she didn't find cash in her purse. Almost at his wit's end, Kasey patiently compelled before going to another table. But when he came back to the woman, nobody was sitting at it. He imagined the worst scenario where the customers had left in a rage, angry with the worst service in their life. However, when the man opened the leather folder, he saw a note on the receipt. When he saw what was written there, his jaw literally dropped. There, in the gratuity line, the woman had written $500.37. Kasey was standing there paralyzed. He thought someone was pranking him, but then he noticed a lot of cash and a few coins. The man counted them and it appeared to be exactly $500.37. Kasey couldn't hold back the tears that were falling down his face because of such an overwhelmingly generous gesture, but still he couldn't figure it out. Why would a complete stranger leave such a generous tip? Then he saw the note. On the napkin in red ink was written, "On behalf of the Sullivan family, I want to thank you for being the person you are."
One of the most depressing days of the year, the death of my father's 3-year anniversary, you made my Mother's Day wonderful. She has been smiling since you did what you did.
From the get-go, the man was confused, but then he kept on reading and it all began to make sense. Just earlier that day, Kasey noticed an older woman standing in the grocery store buying some products. She looked upset and devastated. "I noticed there was a lady standing in front of me," he recounted. "It looked like she'd been crying because once in a while she'd glance over to me." The man decided to do something that would later turn into a generous tip from a stranger woman. I go up to her and say, "It's not raining inside. There's no reason to look so down. I'm sure you have a beautiful smile because you're a beautiful lady." It looked like she had a bad day. She kind of shut me down a little bit. I wanted to make her at least grin a little bit and it wasn't happening, Kasey explained to ABC News. So Kasey decided not to give up and offered to pay for the elderly woman's groceries to make her day better. The total came to $17, and after hesitating for a while, she allowed him to pick up the tab. The lady smiled at his kindness, and Kasey realized that he had achieved his aim to make her day a little easier. Little did he know that this kind-hearted act was about to come back to him tenfold. After helping the woman, Kasey gave her his Applebee's business card, just in case she ever needed his help one more time. "Every time I get to work, I say, 'It's a great day, I'm gonna make some friends and make some money,'" Simmons explained. "This day happened to be the worst day of my Applebee's career. I was having such a bad night that I was about to walk out of that place, and this lady comes in." As it turned out later, the woman Kasey served was that older lady's daughter. She decided to pay a special visit to repay the man for the kindness he showed her mother in the Kroger grocery store. "Her grocery was only $17, and you insisted on paying and told her she was a very beautiful woman. My mother didn't need you to help her, but you made her year," the note concluded. Local news stations mentioned this story and quickly picked it up. Soon, Kasey's story had gone viral, and people all around the globe got to know about his kind gesture. Fantastic to see that there are still good, generous, humble, sincere, and caring people in our vicious world of today. "Well done and thank you," one fan shared their thoughts. Then the original commenter made a suggestion. "If everyone did one act of kindness a day, the world would be a much better place." Turning back to Kasey, the humble man disagrees that making a complete stranger's day a bit better was something to make such a fuss about. "Even with what I did at the grocery store, I want someone to do that for my daughter, mom, or grandmother," he said. "If they looked the way that woman did at Kroger, I would pray you'd do the same."